Okay, so my last Primeval video did pretty well, which is pretty surprising since it's such a niche show, but I guess if the fan base is still there, I'll give the people what they want and we'll do a countdown of my personal top 10 Primeval episodes. There's not too many episodes altogether, so really I could have ranked every episode if I wanted, but I'm really just going to stick with the best since they're the ones that have stuck most with me and with you. Remember, this is my personal opinion and it will likely not match yours, but whatever, post your own top 10 in the comments if you're up for it. Here goes. Number 10, Season 2, Episode 1, aka Raptors at the Mall. After the first season's epic finale, fans were eager to see what would happen next. Season 2 kicked off to a huge start when the team entered a shopping mall to track down raptors on the loose. This episode is an action-packed one of the best looking episodes in terms of effects, and made way to a more rich story in the show's second season. Cutter was trying to decode what was real in this new universe. He and Steven had to unpack their personal drama together. The cleaner setup is a bigger conspiracy going on along the season. The radio waves passed away for the anomaly detection device, and the arrival of Jenny Lewis was a huge twist that set up drama for the rest of the show. Number 9, Season 3, Episode 3, aka Helens Assault on the Ark. Now, I imagine you likely think this episode should be higher, but the creature insertion of the burrowing dictodons wasn't really very great, and the show's portrayal of labour is very cliche and corny. The episode feels completely disjointed, which is why the emotionally moving second half, in which Cutter dies, is lower on this list than it probably should have been. The show was brutal with its approach to death, killing its protagonist halfway through the series with no real goodbye, revenge or resolution for Cutter. While the show managed to do okay without Cutter, he was the centre of the show, and without him, Primeval was never quite the same. Number 8, Season 4, Episode 1, aka The Return from the Cretaceous Period. Talking of never being the same, this has to be a key reason why Season 3 of Primeval was axed after the season on TV. After such a huge cliffhanger, it was a miracle that the show actually returned at all. But while Season 4 and 5 may be a dip in quality, personally, the first episode of seeing Abby and Connor's relationship deepen and the two survivors return to the present was a fantastic one. Not to mention the Spinosaurus is one of the coolest creatures they've had. The episode would likely be higher had Danny and Sarah been there to join them. Number 7, Season 3, Episode 8, aka The Journey to the Future. The future predator is the poster creature of Primeval. It's Dalek, you could say. Every time they appeared was a threat to the characters' lives, and we knew that they meant business. This is why it was so amazing to see the team finally travel to the future timeline in which they ruled the Earth. The stakes were high, the mystery of the future was beginning to unravel, and the mysterious Eve appears for the first time. We also got the future bugs, designed by a viewer on the show, which is very cool. Had the plot of this not revolved around Abby's idiotic brother, then perhaps this episode would be top 3. Number 6, Season 3, Episode 10, aka The Hunt for Helen. Many fans consider this to be the true finale of the show, and it definitely has the scale to be one. The final battle with Helen was on, and the race across time and place was an epic one. We saw raptors, early humans, future predators, and saw the future arc and the doom it had supposedly caused. And of course, Helen's death. It's the only death that I've ever seen that I can say can both be dramatic and hilarious at the same time, while it's also totally fitting with the themes of the show. Helen tried to change time and alter it and control it. It was sheer random chance that eventually brought her demise, and I can't think of anything sweeter. Number 5, Season 3, Episode 6, aka The Terrorbirds. Okay, you're probably wondering why this episode is so high. After all, it's just a regular Creature of the Week episode, right? No, this one is more of a masterfully made episode. Let's get straight away and address the crew going into hiding from Johnson's crew and ending up at the site of an actual anomaly. It's pretty bad writing and a huge coincidence. But other than that, this is a stellar episode that plays with chronology and order while also using the series' best props, locations and costumes. This was the first episode for me that Danny really became the new true lead of the show, and the fact that 2 cast members had left the show in 2 episodes before, there wasn't really a true feeling that anybody could die in this episode. Number 4, Season 2, Episode 7, aka The Menagerie. After 6 episodes of conspiracy in the Ark, Leek's plan was finally revealed, and while it wasn't explained too in-depth what he was even really planning to do. Simply seeing all these creatures inside together was a badass moment. Stephen also taking down the Scorpion on his own was the highest point for his character, and that's even including his death, which in my opinion is the most impactful and well done death of all the main characters in the show. Season 2 was a huge improvement over the first, and the finale really hit home by expanding the lore in new ways and changing the characters in ways that could never be undone. And with that in mind, this episode managed to deliver a second massive cliffhanger ending, this time that teased even bigger things to come. Number 3, Season 1, Episode 6, aka The Future Predator. Alright, you knew this one was coming. The one that took Primeval from a great concept and finally showed us that it could be executed with class. The concept of going to the future is not something that I don't think anyone else was really expecting, but it makes perfect sense within the rules of the universe. By creating its own monster, Primeval made itself an identity that outside of dinosaurs, and made a genuinely scary creature with a smart and intelligent creature design. Seeing the plot of Season 1 come circular when they caused their own remains was tragic, and it was smart, and the Predator vs Gorgonopsid battle is easily the best creature fight in the show. And to top it all off, Cutter's effects on the timeline hit home when Claudia is erased from history. Talk about a cliffhanger. Number 2, Season 3, Episode 2, aka The Camouflage Beast. Now here's an episode that goes beyond the show and is just a great episode of TV standing on its own. The only episode written by James Moran, he brings a unique sense of horror and mystery to the show, writing a creepy and smartly told poltergeist story, proving that Primeval is always at its best when it's moved into other genres. The introduction of Danny Quinn and his brother would both become big payoffs in the future, and the Camo Beast has to be the show's second best original creation behind the Future Predator. And bringing us to number 1, my personal favourite, Season 2, Episode 5, aka The Silurian Scorpions. This is my personal favourite, and I've just mentioned how Primeval is at its best when it's exploring other genres, and this time the show tackled a full-on action survival horror with confidence and grace. Shot mostly on location, with no episode quite depicting the past quite like this episode, with the sprawling, endless desert as a scary place. The scorpions barely appear, make them much scarier, like in almost a Jaws-like appearance, and the conspiracy story made huge strides forward as our heroes came face to face with the Cleaner. It's also an episode with Stephen and Cutter, the show's closest yet most conflicting characters. The two surviving together is a highlight, especially since both are suspicious of each other, and it's a rare character-driven episode for both before they leave the show. We also have Taylor, the child who, while being slightly annoying I can admit, was no damsel, and was a self-insert character for me and many kids like me who watched the show back in 2008. There's nothing quite like this episode, which is why it's my number 1 favourite Primeval, and a perfect example of how to make a great episode. Do you agree with my picks? Probably not. I'd love to hear your top 10. I'd love to hear what your bottom episode is. Mine is Season 5, Episode 2, which is the one in the submarine. I think it's a massive waste of an episode, but I'd love to hear your personal top 10, and let me know if you want more Primeval videos in the future. Thanks for listening.